Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hello students. So today we are going to learn about cell division. But before we continue with our lesson today, I want you all to think first on how does a baby grow from an infant state to adulthood. I want you all to think of it for a moment and just keep that answer within yourself first, okay? So let's move on to the cell cycle and mitosis. Due to the loss and death of cells, our body must replace them. We have about 50 to 100 million trillion of cells in our body. Every minute, our body produces about 300 million new cells. There are three stages involved in the cell cycle, which is interphase, mitosis, and cytokinesis. Interphase is a stage that enables cell carries out their normal function. Next, during mitosis, nucleus content duplicate and divided into two equal parts. Lastly, cytokinesis involves separation of two nuclei and cell content into two daughter cells. As you can see on this slide, we have G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase, and M phase. The G1 phase is often referred as the growth phase because this is the time in which a cell grows. During this phase, the cell synthesizes various enzymes and nutrients that are needed later for DNA replication and cell division. S phase is the phase of the cell cycle in which DNA is replicated, occurring between G1 phase and the G2 phase. Since accurate duplication of the genome is critical to successful cell division, the processes that occur during S phase are tightly regulated and widely conserved. Next, G2 phase or gap 2 phase is the third subphase of interphase in the cell cycle directly preceding mitosis. It follows the successful completion of S phase, during which the cell's DNA is replicated. Lastly, M phase or mitosis is a part of the cell cycle when replicated chromosomes are separated into two new nuclei. Cell division gives rise to genetically identical cells in which the number of chromosomes is maintained. As the nucleus prepares to divide, replicated DNA in interphase joins to form sister chromatids, and both are joined by a centromere. You can refer to the diagram here. It illustrates on how the chromosome look like with details. You can clearly see here there is a chromosome, and then you can see also there is a chromatid. And also at the center of it, it is called a centromere. Okay? Interphase is the longest cell cycle stage. During interphase, the cell will grow in G1 phase in order to prepare for cell division. The cell will then duplicate its DNA in S phase and enter the G2 phase prior to beginning mitosis cycle. Let's move on to the mitosis cycle. So what is actually mitosis? Mitosis is the shortest stage of the cell cycle where the nucleus content divide and two daughter nuclei are formed. It has four stages in total. The first one is prophase, the second one is metaphase, the third one is anaphase, and the fourth one is telophase. You can use any acronym to help you memorizing the sequences. As for now, I give you here PMAT, or you can pronounce it as PMAT. Okay? The first stage of mitosis is prophase. So you can see on this picture here on what is going on in this phase. So the first one is chromosome start to coil and become visible, and pairs of centriole start to separate. And then the nuclear membrane disappears and spindle fibers start to form between the centriole pairs. Chromosomes move more evenly throughout the nucleus. So this is what the prophase phase should look like. Okay? The second stage is metaphase. Centriole pairs move to opposite end of the cell However, spindle fibers are still attached to the centriole pairs. You can see on this picture here that they are moving on the opposite end of the cell. And then chromosomes line up along the midline, or known as metaphase plate, at the cell and are attached to the spindle fiber. So you can clearly see here that the cells are lined up along the midline. Next, the third stage is anaphase. The pair of chromatids split at the centromere and move to opposite ends of the spindle. So you can clearly see here that they are splitting. Now there are twice the number of chromosomes within the cell membrane. The movement of the chromosomes toward the opposite ends of the cell membrane is aided by the spindle fibers. So basically in anaphase, the chromosomes start to split and twice the number of initial chromosomes. The last stage is telophase. Nuclear membrane form around the two new set of chromosomes while the spindle fiber disappears and cannot be seen. Chromosomes start to uncoil and become less visible. Cells start to make a groove or furrow in the middle to eventually split them into two identical cells. So you can clearly see on this picture, there is somehow a cleavage here where it will split them into two identical new cells. Next is cytokinesis, the division of material outside of the nucleus and occurs after telophase. It actually divides the organelle and other substances in the cytoplasm into roughly two equal halves. There are differences in animal and plant, where in animal cells it furrow, while in plant cells it forms a cell plate. Number of chromosome in daughter cell is same with the number of chromosome in parent cell. Daughter cells are genetically identical to parent. Next, we move on to the cell cycle problem. The cell cycle will prevent cell division if the cell is short of nutrient, if the DNA within the nucleus has not been replicated, and if the DNA itself is damaged. So let's move on to this cute yet informative illustration, and you guys can refer and read it, and I hope it will help you to clearly grab the idea of the topic. Next, mutation in genes involving cell cycle problem can result in an out of control cell cycle. The result can be uncontrolled cell division, such as cancer. Cancer cells normally have large and abnormal nuclei. Cancer cells are not specialized, so they serve no function at all. Cancer cells can also attract blood vessels and grow into tumors. Cells that form tumors can break away to other areas of the body, and it will be too harmful for the body. So students, for further understanding, you guys can watch this video on YouTube. I have put a link here so it is easier for you all to search. I think watching videos like this will help you to properly picturize and imagine, thus help you to understand the whole process. So don't forget to check out the video later. So now, I want you all to think for a moment. Look at the picture shown here and try to figure out what is the phase of mitosis it is and why that phase is necessary in cell division. So basically, this is what we are going to do now, which is assessment time. So student, I have given you multiple tasks for you to complete and submit to me. And the purpose of this assessment is for testing your knowledge and understanding regarding this topic. Next, I have put here the task that I want you all to submit to me through Padlet. You guys can scan that QR code. So basically, this class task is just a simple one where I want you all to list two phases of the cell cycle and describe what happens to the cell during those phases. The purpose of this task is to check your understanding and also to check whether you have the wrong ideas or misconceptions. The next assessment is Flipchart Activity. So I have given you here the rubric and I want you all to read it, understand it, and let's say if you have any concern or problems regarding the task, regarding the rubric, you can inform me. And the task is to prepare a flip chart individually. It is not a group work. It is based on the cell division topic. The submission is via Google Classroom and you can access this link and join the class later. See you guys on the next class. Thank you. Bye.